Hi, everyone. Dr. Isela Garcia here, and I am online today to talk, just to share some of my perspectives about what is happening in terms of education. And more specifically, I'm talking about our elementary schools who might be serving preschool age children, kindergarten, first, second, and third. Um, I am not a specialist, and I don't ever claim to know older children, but I want to come from the lens of the decisions we are making on behalf of children as we are opening schools. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable here because I feel like I'm going to be sitting here for a while. I've seen some expectations come down from schools sent out to parents, and also have been communicating with teachers. And I just want to put out there from the very beginning that I think teachers are doing the very best that they can. I think that we are asking a lot of educators right now to show up and be their best selves, and that's a really hard thing to do when they have children of their own. And these are uncertain times for everyone. But what I am seeing are decisions that are being made about children without, it's hard for me to say this because I don't know that I believe that it's completely true, but it's like it's not in complete disregard. I don't want to make that statement, but I feel like we're ignoring what we know about children. We're ignoring what's best for kids. And that's one of the things that I really struggle with. During this time, one of the questions that I keep asking people is what's really important right now. And what I see schools doing, administrators doing, decisions that are being made, and I know folks are, it kind of feels like folks are trying to like fill the hole in the bucket. Like, how can we, how can we kind of make this work in the interim until we can get back into school? What's this going to look like? So I think the decisions are being made from, unfortunately, kind of a panicked state. Because there is so much uncertainty. And I keep telling folks, no one knows what they're doing, so we got to figure out by the seat of our pants, right? I think the challenge, but the opportunity. And for me, this is really about the opportunity. Instead of trying to chase the memory of school or fill that hole in the bucket, I wish that we would have conversations about what's important. I wish we would have conversations about connection and safety and love, and the things that I'm guessing a large percent of our children might need as they start a new school year. I think we should, instead of, it's like connection instead of compliance. And what I'm seeing is so much about compliance. Like, these are the expectations. This is what you need to do, what it needs to look like, and one that I saw was children needed to be dressed in their uniforms by, 8:00 in the morning. And I actually work in collaboration with two colleagues. We're starting we're doing Facebook Live and YouTube Live and a podcast called Transformative Talks. And I want to save that topic for when we are together. But that kind of triggered within me this idea of the expectation is compliance as opposed to connection. I'm also super concerned by the number of hours we are expecting children to sit. I do a lot of virtual sessions. I did virtual sessions before COVID happened. So I was online quite a bit, just doing videos. And I have to say, in my experience as a person who participates in online types of workshops and trainings, my max capacity is 2 hours. Like, really 2 hours. Like, I can do 2 hours. I got to take a break. I got to go eat something. I got to go to the restroom. I got to walk around. I just sort of need to just diffuse a little bit, just to kind of give my brain a break. And that, I don't mean do brain breaks. Please don't misconstrue that. But what that means is I need to walk away for a little bit. And what we know about the overuse of screens, it's like we know that about children. We know that a lot of us hit that tilt mark at about 2 hours. And yet schools are expecting children to sit like a regular class day. where they're expected to do 8 o'clock to 11:30 with the lunch break and then come back for the afternoon session until 2. And we're talking, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and speak to older children. I am going to sit here and speak to the littles. So we're talking pre-K, kindergarten, first, second, and third. Like, the expectation for kids to do that feels wrong to me. It feels absolutely and completely wrong. The other thing that I think we have to really think about, and it's like in my heart, it's like, here's an opportunity for us to really be reflective of what it is that we want to present to children. What's the experience we want them to have? It's not, let's figure out how to teach them the way that we taught them at school. Like, we got to meet those benchmarks. We got to meet those goals. And I'm not saying that those aren't important, but what's most important right now, given what's happened in our world since March, when we're talking about COVID, when we're talking about the racial inequities that have kind of come to surface, all of the dialogue and conversations around that, and really we're focusing on first quarter benchmarks, and that's what needs to be the priority. I don't think that's the priority. I think the priority is that we have to put children's social and emotional selves first. And we have to have, I think, engaging dialogue with one another as colleagues as to what it looks like for the children you work with specifically. So everywhere that I work, it's going to look different. And what I mean by that is every school district, depending on demographics, depending on just the families that you are directly working with, it's going to look different everywhere you go. But I think that we have to focus on three specific things. The first one is safety. We have to create an experience for children, even virtually, that conveys a sense of safety. Now, we don't have any control over their physical safety, but we have some level of influence in our budding relationship, like just trying to create a relationship of feeling safe. Now, it's not just with me, though. It's building a sense of community. That sense of community are their classmates. Right now, they're strangers in some cases. In other cases, when you're with your older kiddos, they might know some of the children that are in their class. But with our kinders or some of our pre-K classrooms, this is the first time not only have they had this experience, but their experience with these kids. So it's like, how can we make the focus where we create experiences where children feel a sense of belonging and safety? We have to create opportunities for connection, not just with me, but with one another. And so instead of looking at your day like a regular classroom day, we look at the beginning of the day as a community building experience where we can intentionally create connections, where children can start to see themselves not only as an individual who contributes to this greater whole, or this, what I call the greater good, but also the contributions of others and the strengths of others. I'm doing a session on virtual classrooms, virtual teaching. And one of the things that I have said, it was last week, I'm doing another one this coming week. And I think that the thing that I think is so very, very important is that we get out of the mindset of me teaching too, that I'm the one that's going to teach you how to do everything or show you what, right? Sort of like our perception of, what a teacher does. Really, my role is to facilitate the experience of getting to know who we are as a classroom, as a group. So that there's a sense of belonging. I have to tell you, without that sense of belonging, it becomes an issue of compliance. I have to go to school, as opposed to I get to see my teacher, I get to see my classmates, I get to have a conversation or be able to share a little bit of who I am. And I think that needs to be the focus, providing a platform for children to tell their stories, providing a platform for children to tell you and their peers how they learn better. best. Even at kindergarten, what is it that you love to do? What is it that gets you excited? Show me what your favorite thing to do is. And so we go from that community-based experience, and I think our focus really needs to be small group opportunities. Small group opportunities where not only am I having an expectation of certain goals, certain benchmarks, certain what it's outside of that. It's like, okay, what is it? What's the best way? What's the best way for you to make your learning visible? What's the best way for you to share with others what you've learned, what you've discovered, what you're thinking, what you're feeling? What's the best way? So for some children, that's reenacting something. Other children, it's singing something. It might be drawing a picture. It might be telling a story. It's like, why are we so caught in this perception that we have to give a task with the expectation of it coming back in a written form or in packets? I've heard so much about, come pick up the packets. And I know in some circumstances it's because accessibility is an issue. But I think that we have to figure out what are ways that we can support children's growth, learning, and development in ways that are real, that are relevant, and that are meaningful to children. So I guess it's... I'm really frustrated about this because I feel like we're just sort of creating a quick fix instead of being thoughtful and instead of truly understanding the needs of our students, of our children. I think even supporting teachers in a dialogue about what does it look like to provide a safe experience for children virtually. What does it look like to connect virtually? What's the language of connection? What are the opportunities for connection? How do we actually get to know our children from a place of a wholeheartedness? And why I'm saying all of this is because what I'm seeing go out to families are the rules, the expectations. I think one of them even talked about, like children had, like I said, had to be dressed. I have to tell you, 90% of the time that I'm doing this, like 90% of the time when I'm like talking to people, I might be dressed here, but I'm wearing pajama bottoms on my bottoms here. I'm not wearing anybody's uniform and I'm not dressing up for folks. I'm not. And I think, why do we have these expectations of children when in fact, or we struggle with that? I mean, it's like we have higher expectations of children because we have our experiences where we're not our best selves, where we're having a challenging day, where we don't want to get up and get dressed that day. And I'm lucky I just get in front of a screen. A lot of folks are in that space. So why is that an issue? I guess that's my question. Why is that an issue? There was also lots of conversation about make sure you have breakfast. Okay, I can't even talk about that one because I'm so triggered by that one. I'm so triggered, like make sure that you have done all these things. I may not have the means to do those things. And I think that it completely dismisses kiddos who might be experiencing food insecurity, might be experiencing a whole slew of things in their home. And I think that some of the expectations that have been sent to homes dismisses it completely and misses the mark, comes from a place, again, from compliance and quite honestly, disrespect. I think that there was a conversation I had with a teacher recently about having a snack. Actually, one district I work very closely with, they're having snack time together. So these are preschool age children. And I've been asked probably 5-6 times in the last week, how many hours should children be online? And I would say max 2 hours. Max 2 hours. Now, for older children, so our kindergarten through third grade, I would do, and I would split that time too. I would not do a full 2 hours. I would do a whole group, welcome, building community, and then I would have opportunities for small groups. And then I would do like a closing experience where we come back together in a whole group. We might share what we did, we might share what we said, but I would give them work to do while they were on their downtime. So then the time that they're not connected with me or with their peers, I would have them do work on experiences, whether it's, build something, create something, look something up. I mean, it just depends on the age, and it again depends on who I'm working with. But I would have them have them do stuff. So 2 hours would be max. And then I would give them other work to do. I would give them work to work on for the rest of the day. Not a whole lot. It's not busy work. That's the thing. It's not busy work. It's work that's meaningful and relevant to them, things they care about, things that are exciting, things that are engaging, where they get to actually work with their hands, or they get to, like I said, explore, create, discover, all those things that actually what I think education should be about. Those are the experiences that they should have while they're not online, but they should not be online for the entire duration of the entire day, and or for the 2 hours. So one of the schools that I work with, they even have a time that they're calling like snack time, and they're open for the idea of children sitting and having snack with their peers and with their teachers. And I keep thinking, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, of course, some of you are going to go, oh, say, what if a kid chokes, and then we're going to go to that place. But I see so many schools that I go to where kids are walking around with food in their hands, so no one cares about them choking there. I'm like, I don't know what the issue is here. So as a side, or just to go a little bit deeper into that, if I was a classroom teacher right now with a group of children and they had, let's say, goldfish, or they were eating a snack, or they were eating a cheese stick, I wouldn't care. I would not care. We're talking, we're having a conversation about whatever it is we're thinking about. Maybe we're talking I would even do this at the beginning there. I would actually start to talk about creating a classroom name, like who are we collectively? And talk about the difference between voting and consensus, that we all have to agree. What ideas do you have for a classroom name? Like, I would do this virtually. And, I want it to be a very laid back, connected experience, not an expectation of this is how you behave. Now, granted, there are some clear guidelines about how to listen to each other. I would talk about that, how we would be responsive to one another online, because it's difficult for all of us to speak together. So we would practice those things. But it comes from a place of help us learn how to do school, as opposed to these are the expectations of your behavior and you're expected to comply or else. And so it's building that sense of community. It's building that sense of connection. And if kids wanted to have snack and sit together, and like literally, if that worked for my group, then we would have snack time together and we would talk about those types of group decisions. Or maybe we're just discovering what's interesting to you. What are you interested in learning about? I think the conversation, just in my experience in the last several years, in a pre-K classroom is going to look very different than a kindergarten classroom, first and second and third, because their life experiences are different. They're starting to develop that lens that they see the world through. And so what they have in terms of, or their ideas around what's interesting to them is going to be different. But I would literally just kind of sit back and go, okay, let's talk about that. What's interesting to you? My role as a teacher then is to go, okay, how can we dig deeper? How can we explore more? How can I create opportunities for exploration and discovery? And that's going to depend on who my kids are. It's going to depend on what is accessible to them, the support that they may or may not have. I mean, so many things have to go into play when we're making those types of decisions. But I would do my very best to figure out ways to get kids excited about what we're doing. And it's within the context of that experience that I then provide those skills or those goals that we have for kids. I want kids to learn their letters too. I want kids to learn to read too. I want kids to be able to work through math problems too. Those are skills that are important to me too. It's like sometimes people will listen to me and go, oh, but you don't have the same goals. You don't care if children are learning or not learning, when that is absolutely not true. What I want is for children to learn, but that we're supporting that what's interesting to them and what's exciting to them. And that I believe, because I've seen it a million times over in my own experiences, that when we can not only help children or give children permission to share what's exciting to them, but that we fan the flame, that we help provide those experiences so that they can be in the driver's seat of their learning, then they want to come back every day. They want to share what's exciting for them. They want to learn more. They want to be able to express themselves in a way where what they've learned and what they've discovered can be conveyed to their friends, to their peers, to their teacher. It's like, but we do it backwards. Instead of coming from within to sort of support children, we do power over. And when we do power over with kids, we have the expectation and that this is going to happen. And then you're going to do this. And first you do this. And so what happens then is we sort of push out curiosity. We push out the desire for exploration. We push out creativity. And I have to tell you all that those are the very things that we need them to keep. They come in. I mean, we're born with all of those things. We're born with curiosity. We need them to retain that curiosity because they're going to enter a workforce that we can't even begin to understand right now. So in 15 years, in 10 to 15 years, the workforce is going to evolve. It's going to change because technology is changing things. So I guess my rant for today, because I'm not gonna lie, this is a rant. My rant for today is really about making decisions for children on behalf of children that are really about what's important. We have to think about what's important. Right now, in my professional opinion, what's important are three things. The first one is safety. The second one is connection. And the third one is playful engagement, which I just went through and described. Playful engagement, where we're actually creating experiences that not just engage, but excite children. And so I just hope that this helps at least put some things into perspective. And I know that a lot of parents might be concerned about their children not meeting certain goals or not being at the level that they need to be in. But I have to tell you, in my work, that if we don't pay attention to that safety and connection, we're going to see the long-term implications of that. And it may not be in the next 6 months. It may be in the next year, 2 years, or 3 years. But we will see the implications of not paying close attention to children's social and emotional needs and feeling a sense of connection with their peers. And so anyhow, I hope this is helpful. I hope that maybe it gives you something to think about. And if you're in a position of power, and what I mean position of power in a leadership position where you're able to make some decisions, I encourage you to have this type of conversation with your teachers or with the powers that be. Let's really think about what's most important for children right now and how do we convey the messages of safety, connection, and playful engagement. Thank you all very much.